Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome live on location to Jake and Dorothy's Restaurant on East Washington in Stephenville. It's a Stephenville institution where you know they specialize in chicken fried steaks and these delicious waffle fried potatoes. You're watching the Blitz Bit preview show for your week in football. I'm Brad Keith, the sports editor at the Empire-Tribune. Joining me is Nathan Burrell, the Empire-Tribune staff writer and the sports editor at the Glen Rose Reporter. Hey Nathan, crazy week last week. Of course, it all began with one of the games, people on TV already calling it a game of the year possibility, and it was a week 0 game. But Stephenville 48, Aledo 47. Let's start right there, and oh, what a game it was.
Well, when's the last time you've ever heard of a game ending with 3 consecutive blocks? I mean, the block punt by Aledo to set up the field goal, the block field goal kick by Preston Brown, I believe it was. And again, unfortunate roughing the kicker call set him up for another one, and Stephenville was able to come away with it again. That's something that you don't even hear on video games, much less in real life against the #1 team in the state.
I asked Coach Gillespie about that. He said, nope, never seen one or heard of one ending that way, and you probably can't find anyone who ever has. And that's probably very true, and we'll probably never see another one end that way again. That game, of course, propelled Stephenville up to number 4 in this week's Associated Press 4A football poll, and they'll put that ranking on the line against Abilene Wiley on Friday night. Other games this week, Heiko is going to visit the DeLeon Bearcats after dismantling Dublin last week. Those Dublin Lions will be in their home opener against the Millsap Bulldogs. Lingleville goes to Iredell, and Stephenville Faith visits Cherokee in other action, while Dublin Premier is at Mineral Wells Christian School. All those games at 7:30 Friday night, except for the Dublin Premier Mineral Wells Christian game, which starts at 7 o'clock at Miller Stadium there at Mineral Wells. But Nathan, let's start by talking about this. Tarleton State University returning to the gridiron. They're back to kick off Kerry Fowler's 2nd season, and it's against none other than the rival ACU Wildcats. You spoke to Coach Fowler today for our preview, which of course you can pick up in the all-out blitz coming out in the Thursday Empire-Tribune. What did Coach Fowler have to say about the opener?
Well, he was just excited to get back to football. I mean, that's really it for him. He told me, he goes, it's weird because being a football coach, you work 365 days a year to prepare for 11 days in the fall, and he's just excited to get back. I know he's excited about his team. The addition of Lee Hayes, the new offensive coordinator, they're really looking to light up the scoreboard in this new Luke Lone Star Conference.
And ACU's, of course, is going to be led by Mitchell Gale on offense, an All-American quarterback, Aston Whiteside on defense, an All-American probable candidate this year at defensive end.
Well, Aston Whiteside's definitely a playmaker on defense. He had 1 interception last year at the defensive end position. He took it back 58 yards, if I remember, because I happened to be at that game. It was against Tarleton, I believe it was.
And that 65-3 game?
Yeah.
That's the last time we'll say that.
We won't mention that again. He's a remarkable athlete. I think he had 7 sacks and about 14.5 tackles for loss last year. Picked to be the Lone Star Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And Coach Fowler said he's definitely going to know where Whiteside is on the field, but he's not going to turn his entire attention to him because he said Abilene Christian has one of the best front fours in probably the entire state, maybe even the entire country. And if you don't watch it, that whole front line can beat you, not just Whiteside.
Yeah, if you put all your attention on one guy, Chris Thompson and his staff are too good for that. They'll beat you other ways. Tarleton and Abilene Christian, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. It's the home opener, it's the season opener, and unlike in previous years, you open with a Lone Star Conference game. You can't just say, well, Tarleton played the number 4 team in the nation, first game of the year, we'll get it right. This game counts toward conference championship, and of course, they all count toward the playoffs.
Well, and it counts even more so this year because it's not like in years past where last year you opened with Northeastern, and yes, it was a Lone Star game, but last year against Northeastern it was a Lone Star crossover game because they were in the North. This year, there is no North and South. It is all Lone Star Conference. All of them are equally important, and this one just happens to be against the Lone Star Conference favorite.
Let's move on to Friday night. Stephenville at Abilene Wiley at Bulldog Stadium there in Wiley. Stephenville's coming off, of course, the huge win. Everybody knows what happened there. But how do you retool now? How do you get grounded again after coming out of the heavens and beating your big rival? How do you get ready to go face 3A Wiley?
Well, I don't know how to do it. If I knew how to do it, I would be in Coach Gillespie's shoes. But Coach Gillespie's great at it. He knows how to get his team to improve week after week. And I guarantee you, nobody has his team more grounded than Joseph Gillespie because he knows that last week was just week 1. It wasn't a state championship victory. He's still got a long way to go, and nobody's going to keep his team more grounded than Joseph Gillespie. But I'll tell you what they will need to do. They will just need to be consistent. Tyler Jones doesn't have to come back and be the savior, for instance, like he did when they were down 20-3 when he came into the game. Bryce Gunter doesn't necessarily have to put up 150 yards on 11 receptions. They need to just be consistent. Give the ball to Avion Edwards. Let him handle the rest.
Give the ball to Avion Edwards. I like that game plan.
That's a good game plan.
That is a good game plan. Good, especially when he's following Francisco Talamontes, Brian Manley, and that big group of guys up front. Stephenville and Abilene Wiley. One thing I wanted to mention here is I asked Joseph Gillespie this week, do you put any stock in this? Oh, we're a big favorite because they're 3A. He told me Abilene Wiley, 960 to 970 students. Stephenville, 1,018. They're closer in enrollment than anybody Stephenville's going to play this year.
Well, it's not a matter of classifications because of that number. I mean, it's 30 kids difference. In some schools, those 30 kids may not even play sports. You know, I mean, it's a weird deal. But Abilene Wiley is always a power. They always have big playmaking receivers. They always have big offensive linemen. And whether they're in 3A, 4A, whatever classification they're in, they're going to bring it every week.
Richard Bloomer, keep that name in mind. 6'5" receiver. I feel like if the Jackets keep him bottled up, if he doesn't make 3 or 4 big plays where Wiley scores going the length of the field in a play rather than having to drive against that War Dog defense, that can keep the Bulldogs in it. If he doesn't, folks, forget about it.
Well, he's a big target for newcomer Matt McLeod, a quarterback. But looking back at the way Wiley handled their game last week, McLeod threw for 317 yards against Rockdale in a 31-14. The way I kind of look at that is that was an above-average offensive game against a very average 3A team. Abilene Wiley's in for a lot more than just an average 3A team this week.
Also Friday night, Dublin opening at home against Millsap. Hey, Millsap's coming off 20-12 loss to Albert. But we all know the Lions and Coach Bob Servetto are in the middle of what is going to be a long rebuilding project. Not just going to get fixed in a couple weeks. Tough opener last week against Heiko for the Lions. What do they got to do tomorrow, Friday night?
They just have to keep improving. I mean, like you said, it's a long uphill climb for them. They've got quite a ways to go, and they need to just continue to get better. Dirk DeVries, a sophomore quarterback, he's going to have to continue to grow and get better. And as a quarterback, and just learn how to play the game of football.
And also Lingleville at Iredell. Iredell, a playoff regular. Iredell played Walnut Springs, a team you cover over in Glen Rose last year. They beat the Cardinals last year, and the Cardinals coming off that tough loss to Faith. They also lost sophomore running back and defensive lineman Ernesto Nava, unfortunately, to a badly dislocated elbow.
Well, Iredell's a tough six-man football team. I mean, they present a challenge anytime you go up against them. And on top of that, Lingleville has to go to their house. They're going to Iredell. Iredell's a perennial playoff power down in the six-man ranks. And like you said, Lingleville, Stephenville Faith kind of exposed them a little bit, and losing Ernesto Nava, I believe he was the strongest man on their team, certainly doesn't help at all. It's going to be a tough uphill battle for Lingleville.
Stephenville Faith at Cherokee. In the beginning of the season, you and I were kind of looking at the schedule going, Stephenville Faith's going to play who? They're going to play Cherokee. Cherokee's top 10, folks. Stephenville Faith might be for real, especially in the Texas Christian Athletic League, especially with Shad Cole at quarterback. And on the road at Cherokee or not, if they can stay outside of Cherokee's big man in the middle, Stephenville Faith has the speed to stay in this football game.
Well, one thing, too, that separates Stephenville Faith from a lot of other six-man schools is their kicking game. Daniel Winkler can really boot the ball, folks. I mean, he can onside it. He did a lot of things, and that's something that in six-man, because extra point kicks in six-man are worth 2 points, and that could be the difference in a big-time game.
Field position, any level.
Field position, extra points, all that stuff in six-man really comes down to it, and this team can kick. I mean, Shad Cole's a great quarterback, but he's also a great safety, and it's not often when you lose a senior and replace him with a freshman, and you're just as good, if not better, but that seems to be the case in Stephenville Faith.
Dublin Premier goes to Mineral Wells Christian School. That's the 7 o'clock game Friday night, the only 7 o'clock game Friday. Probably a tough road ahead now with 7 players, and they're playing at Mineral Wells Christian, which, hey, Mineral Wells Christian's an established school, which actually turned down a Tarleton football recruit last year.
Well, it's Coach Rod Cole, the strength and conditioning coach for Tarleton State. His son, Cade, is now a redshirt freshman at Tarleton State. And, yeah, I mean, that's a program that can turn out good players. And it's going to be a long road for Joe Short and the Dublin Premier, just having 7 players on their roster.
It certainly is. Well, we certainly appreciate you tuning in, whether you're going to Abilene to watch the Jackets or somewhere else, perhaps to watch Dublin, Heiko, Lingleville Faith, or Dublin Premier, or even Tarleton in their season opener on Thursday night. We hope you enjoy your game. We hope everybody's favorite team wins, and we'll see you right back here at Jake and Dorothy's home of these delicious waffle fried potatoes, next week on the Blitz Bit. And don't forget, fans, pick up your copy of the All-Out Blitz and learn all about the weekend in football in Thursday's edition of the Stephenville Empire-Tribune.